I wonder, what do you think gets the most use for Tory Smith?
Which ring?
Yeah, which ring gets the most use? The Eagles ring or the Ravens ring?
Oh, better be the Eagles one.
Let's see.
What's
got the most use? Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, former Eagle wide receiver, former Ravens wide receiver with 2 Super Bowl wins, the great Tory Smith. Hello, Tory.
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Good, man. How you doing? I got to ask you, like, the calm before the storm here, and if you've been through this, the gap of days where you have to get ready for a Super Bowl. What is that like?
Oh, man, just trying to focus on getting as healthy as possible and just feeling good. You know, that's really what it's all about. You don't overthink it. You don't over-prepare. Just want to go out and make sure you're taking care of your body because that is the last little bit of break that you're going to have. And try to get your family in order, right? That's probably the biggest thing that I think is really underrated is the amount of stress family can put on you in the Super Bowl.
Because everybody wants tickets, right?
Right. You talk about tickets, whether it's arrangements or whatever it is. Now, I guess it's a lot easier now with digital because you can just text people their tickets. But, I mean, just getting all that stuff out of the way so then when the time comes, you can just focus on the game.
All right, so let's get back to your experience. Do you have to line up hotels and stuff? How many tickets do you get as a player, first of all?
Well, if I remember right, I believe they let you buy 15.
They let you buy 15.
Yeah, first of all, nothing.
There's nothing free in the NFL.
You don't get a couple comp tickets?
Yeah, I think you know what? I think you actually do get 2 comps, but you pay the taxes on them.
Okay.
But, you know, when you're buying these tickets, I mean, they aren't cheap. So, I mean, if you're going and you're bringing 15 family members, you're probably talking 20, 30 grand.
All right, so what do you do? 20, 30 grand, my God. And so what do you tell them you got to make your own arrangements, or do you, like, have that in also?
Well, it just depends on the person and their family. You know, if you grow up like I grew up, shoot, if I don't pay for it, they ain't coming. You know, it just all depends on everyone's family situation. But I'll tell you what, the team does make it easy by making sure that you know they have rooms set up at the team hotel. So they try to make it easier on you, so you don't have to go and try to figure things out in terms of arrangements and where people can go.
All right, so now it's a little easier pace. The next week, now you start to get serious with the game plan and the practice and getting there and having to deal with the media and all that kind of stuff. Do you guys have people that lay that out for you when you get to the following week, a few days before the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just know that's just the schedule you're on. You know, that it's just what comes with the territory. I remember Alshon being highly upset and bored at the process when we were going through it, and it does get on your nerves because you're so used to routine, right? I think people don't. That's an athlete thing in general, and I always break it down to people like, hey, as long as you've been playing sports since you've been 6, 7 years old, you always knew what it looked like, right? Heading into the weekend, preparing, practice, and all of that. Well, you get to the Super Bowl, and now everything changes. The practice schedule's off. You're traveling. You're commuting everywhere. You have to deal with these long press conferences, and it is a little bit of a distraction. But to me, it's not that big. It's not as big a deal as everyone makes it seem. It's annoying, right? But you still have your free time to relax and really take it all in and enjoy the city as well.
No, I think you have a good perspective. But Alshon got a little hinky about it.
Man, listen, Alshon, I was dying laughing. He was not feeling that process. He was over it, just ready to get to the game because it's only but so many times you can be asked, "Hey, man, what's it feel like to be here?" Like,
yeah.
My goodness, man, there's been 1,000 times of this. So, you know, you got to be a pro in all situations. But my man Alshon had reached his limit.
Those press conferences, like when you guys are at the podiums and stuff, I can imagine how annoying that would be for players. But let's look at this game now itself. And you know, you've been through this Eagle season. You see what the Chiefs have done. The Chiefs are a slight favorite in that game. Do you think that's merited?
I mean, I think just because it's the Chiefs, right? I think they consistently proven that, you know, they're the big dog in the league overall. They play very well. They won tough games. So not surprised at all that they've given them the nod. But Vegas isn't always right? And I think, you know, as a player, you know, it means nothing to you what Vegas says. But, when it boils down to it, it allows you to build off the underdog narrative. But honestly, as a player, that's not something that really bothers you.
When you look at the Eagles, is this Eagle team better than your team?
Ooh, this is a really good team. I think when you look at every area of this roster, I think this roster probably is a little bit better than ours. Especially when you add Saquon in the mix, right? I mean, I think this roster is a little better than the one that we had, and I think they have the talent and the leadership and the ability to get it done. And I'm not trying to jinx them when I say this, but the reality of it is the best teams don't always win. The hottest team wins. And I think this team has both going for them right now in terms of the way they're playing, the way Jalen Hurts is playing, and the way that defense is firing off the ball. So it's going to be fun to watch them go out there and compete. And I think this is the year they get it done.
The Eagles have never lost a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz on the bench.
That's funny.
Oh, man, that was a cheap shot.
That's funny.
That was wrong, man. I'm sorry. That was wrong. I was throw it by.
Hey, that's fine. I love Carson to death, man. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. You can't mention this Eagles' first Super Bowl without mentioning Carson Wentz.
I know. You're right.
The narrative changes, right, and things happen fast, but the reality of it is Carson Wentz was one healthy game away from being MVP, and the entire city of Philadelphia and our team had a second of doubt when he went down. Anyone that thought that we were going to be magically winning it with Foles in is a liar, right? I was there. We lived it, right? But I think, when we got it turned around and, Foles was able to be who he's always been, it was huge. Credit to Howie Roseman for getting it done, knowing that you got to have a capable backup there. But, Carson was definitely a valuable piece.
Yeah, there's no question. And I took a cheap shot, and I'm ashamed of myself. But here's the thing. When he goes down, you just admitted it. When he went down, you go, ooh, you sag a little bit. Even as a player, you go, uh-oh. So what made you think that Foles could pull it? What was the moment that you thought Foles could pull this thing off?
Man, I think once we got past the Falcons in that tough game, you just know Foles, right? Foles is the calmest dude ever, right? And he's just like, he's never rattled, and you always feel like you have a chance with him. And I just feel like it's one of those things where it just has to build. People forgot, like, Foles wasn't even practicing for like a month or two, when he was recovering with his arm bothering him. So it just took time to get going. And like I said, who cares about the story at this point? He got it done. But I think with him, it's his demeanor, his leadership abilities. It's like, man, how can you doubt him?
Talking to Tory Smith, played with, of course, on the victorious Eagles Super Bowl team, and also the Ravens. All right, so you know what they say about the Eagles, and you know what they've said. Although last week, I think Jalen Hurts kind of kicked that whole premise in the butt, where they said he couldn't throw, and passing game was the weakness, and the whole bit. You see the way the Eagles play offense. The other side has a defensive coordinator who in the past has bothered him with the blitz, but also they're pretty good against the run, although this is a different running back. So how do you assess what the Eagles' strengths versus what Kansas City does here?
I think you have to go out there and play the game. Coach Spags knows. I had the opportunity to play with him when I was with the Ravens, and he's going to heat it up. He's going to blitz. He's going to send a lot of exotic blitzes, and he's going to try to get Jaylen to make some bad decisions. But this Eagles team can run the football, and they're going to be committed to it. And so because of that, you're going to give yourself the flexibility to still open things up on the back end. And there's no quarterback in this league that gets criticized more than Jalen Hurts for just existing, right? And I think maybe Dak Prescott. But I think with Jalen, like, he's a very good player that has proven that he can play at an MVP level. He's proven that he can be the reason why your team wins with his arm. He's proven that he can get it done with his legs, and all he does is win. Right? I think he's unfairly criticized, and I think he's held to a standard that doesn't make sense because the team still goes out and wins. Right? I think he doesn't get the same credibility that some other great quarterbacks get when their teams play well. Right? If Jaylen doesn't have his best game and the Eagles still win, it's, oh man, are they going to be able to win because of Jaylen? But they didn't say the same thing when you have any of these quarterbacks out here. You can go from Dak, you can go to Josh Allen, right, to when their teams win and they don't perform their best, right? I think the biggest thing is when you talk about franchise quarterbacks, It's like, can you win because this guy is your quarterback? And I think you can win because Jalen Hurts is your quarterback. And I think he's proven it. He's shown that he can play at the MVP level. He showed that his leadership ability is huge. And the way he played last week, I mean, if anyone had questions before, I mean, all doubt should be removed. He played a big-time game last week, and I see no reason why his momentum wouldn't continue.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Torrey, with Jalen Hurts. But I want to bring up a topic that may get Mike upset because the callers kind of have been driving this topic today, that the Kansas City Chiefs seem to get all of the penalty calls from the referees in the NFL. Now, as a former player that watches these games, do you think the Chiefs are getting more calls than other teams get?
Honestly, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm not really a guy that complains about the refs too much.
You're right with Mike on that.
Good for you,
Yeah, you're right with Mike on that.
Yeah, I don't really complain about the refs too much because, I mean, listen, all the complaining you do, I haven't had a ref change a call in my favor in my entire life, not even coaching these 10-year-old kids. So it's like, I don't waste my time worrying about it. But I will tell you this, I do know there's a such thing as veteran privilege at the quarterback position. So if I was a defensive lineman playing for the Eagles this week, I'd make sure I'd watch my landing on the quarterback, right? Like, there's just certain things that, you know, they get that privilege. I was in Baltimore, and we used to have battles with Tom Brady all the time. There were certain calls you just knew that, hey, you might be able to get away with that with Cam Newton, but that's not going to work versus Tom Brady, right? So you have to make sure that you're conscious of certain things, but you don't necessarily change the way you play. But that little bit of extraness that guys like to add at the end of plays, you kind of try to stay away from it. But I'm not a person that goes down the alley complaining about referees because when you complain about them, that's when it comes back to get you, right? And you're worried about all these other things, man. When you control what you can control, play the way you're supposed to play, the game will not be left in the ref's hands, and that's the way I believe all sports should be played.
I'd say you believe you give the refs too much power if you think that way, and most of the calls even out. But here's what I will say. Like, Mahomes comes off as kind of this, a weaker physical type of wafy quarterback. Jaylen is hardy. Jaylen can squat like 1,000,000 pounds. Is it possible referees look at it and go, he could take it? The other guy, man, looks like he's going to fall apart if he gets hit.
I think in their mind, they could say it doesn't. But in their mind, I'm telling you, I think it plays a factor. I watched Cam Newton about get split in half when I played with him. And the ref was like, oh, man, that's a big guy right there. He's fine, right? That's the way it felt.
Yeah.
Right? But there's some other quarterbacks where they get hit the same way and look like somebody threw a bomb on the field. So, I mean, it's one of them things where you just have to roll with the punch, and I think it plays with their eyes at times. I don't think it's necessarily intentional by them, but sometimes when a player may not, and by the way, Patrick Mahomes isn't a small person, right?
He's not, but he kind of looks like
he's not as stout as Jaylen is.
Yeah.
So when sometimes when that player gets tossed, it looks a little different, and that just plays those mind tricks with the refs at times.
Yeah, he kind of dances around like he's like Tinkerbell sometimes, you know.
Right.
I think it fools officials. All right, Torrey, the moment of truth. You got a prediction for this game?
I think the Eagles win, and I think they win by 10. I think the Eagles are going to come out, establish the run game. The key in the game is going to be just simply protecting the football. You know, Jalen's going to have the opportunity to make plays with his legs and his feet. He has to use his legs. You know, when they're blitzing and doing those things, it's like you're not going to be able to sit in the pocket and try to wait for things to happen down the field. You know, they have one less person back there. He's going to use his legs. He's going to make some big-time throws on time, right? I think they're going to have a great blitz plan offensively to be able to handle it. And you still have the opportunity with Saquon to run the ball and create all kinds of plays all over the place. So just like last week, when Saquon got that first run and he took off and scored, I was like, this is a huge play, not only for this team, but for Jalen Hurts, because now I feel like the pressure was like off. Like the offense is doing fine. Now you can just go out there and ball, and he played lights out. And I expect a similar scenario. It'd be great if Saquon decides to score on his first carry, but, you know, I think it's a similar scenario. This team is being physical, dominating at the point of attack, and then letting the game just come to them and not going out and trying to force anything. I think Jalen's going to play great and get it done.
All right. Sounds good. Tory Smith, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I appreciate that.
All right, there he is, Tory Smith. I
love it.
Tory, like you turn up, you can make Tory Mike Missanelli and his stance on
the refs,
on the officials. You see, ballers understand.
Yeah, and
ballers Baller to baller. We understand it.
He kind of agreed with both of us because what I had said was that Mahomes gets the calls that Jalen Hurts doesn't.
Well, he said that's just executive privilege.
Yes, but in this Super Bowl.
And that goes to any sport.
But in this Super Bowl, I am urging the NFL to give the same amount of respect to Jalen Hurts that you give Patrick Mahomes. On the biggest scale, in the biggest game of the entire season, you should not lean veteran privilege.
Here's what I advise Jalen to do. Slow up before he gets out of bounds. Let the guy hit him. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Hey, everybody, it's Bill Colarulo. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so you can engage during the show, and you're not going to want to miss all the content that we post. It's not only the live videos. It's videos after the fact. It's our shorts. It's all the content you want as a Philadelphia sports fan. Looking forward to connecting.